She was humiliated, called useless, and kicked out of her home on her own wedding anniversary. But what no one expected was that she would return, pregnant and married to a millionaire. Do not skip this video because this story will leave you speechless. Now, before we begin, if you enjoy content like this, go ahead and hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and comment down below what you thought of this story. Your opinion is very important to us here at the Moving Stories channel. Alright, now we can begin. In the most luxurious penthouse of the city's corporate building, to the sound of cutlery hitting a plate and a silence that weighed more than 1,000 words, Amanda waited. It was her wedding anniversary. Her 5th. She had prepared everything with care. His favorite dish, lit candles, a glass of wine waiting. But the place across from her remained empty. Again. When the clock struck 9:47 p.m., she already knew he wasn't coming. She had barely seen her husband in recent months. He had become distant and absent ever since he finally graduated from a top university. She knew he would soon take over his father's company. He worked hard for it, and to be honest, she worked almost twice as hard to help him achieve his goals. But she never complained and would have done it all over again for him. She loved him with all her heart and, until that moment, thought he loved her just the same. And just as she was about to give up waiting, Michael opened the door, and for a second, she thought she was just being paranoid. He had come and everything was fine. But before she could sigh in relief, Michael placed a manila envelope on the table in front of her. "Read it." Amanda picked up the envelope, already dreading its contents. And when she read the first page, there it was in bold letters, "Divorce." As she tried to understand what was happening, Michael said coldly, "Say something, Amanda. You've been staring at these documents for about 5 minutes." Maybe she had been staring at the capital letters of divorce for 5 minutes. But it wasn't easy to recover from the shock. Instead of a high-class meal, she had been served several pages of a brutal revelation. "You want to divorce me?" she stammered, slowly raising her head to face him. He leaned back in his chair and ran his fingers through his short brown hair. "Can you read?" Amanda's trembling hands reached for the wineglass, and she downed it as if the drink could magically erase the situation. She filled the glass again and took another gulp. The wine went down her throat, but the lump that had formed there only grew. She was suffocating. Her heart was racing. A tear streamed down her cheek, but somehow she kept the others from falling. "Why, Michael?" The strangled sound barely came out of her voice. There was no resemblance between the man she once knew and the man sitting in front of her. This Michael before her was cold and indifferent. His brown eyes had no warmth, and the lips she loved to kiss were now set in a hard, thin line. He held her gaze for a few more seconds before pulling another document from his briefcase and placing it in front of Amanda. "Why, you still ask? You promised me an heir, remember? That was the only condition under which my parents agreed to our marriage." He sighed, sounding almost bored. "Yet after 5 years, you still haven't given me a child. Besides, the tests prove you're practically unable to have children." His words hurt her more than the divorce petition. "Look at the damn test results, Amanda," Michael shouted, pointing to a test that said Amanda had a problem with anatomical abnormalities. Amanda froze. Why did he have these tests when even she didn't know about them? "Why do you have this?" she asked. "Seriously, Amanda, you don't know?" "You know I'm friends with Dr. Roberts. He gave me your results, and I'm grateful he did, because we shouldn't continue something that is useless." The air left Amanda's lungs in a rush. "Useless? You call our love and our marriage useless?" The words barely escaped her as the cruel realization hit her full force. This love was never ours. It couldn't have been. There was only Amanda's love. "Was a child the only thing you wanted from me?" Amanda whispered. Michael scoffed. "What else could you give me? You have no name, no money, no talents. You could only give me a child, and you failed at that too. How can you be so cruel?" she whispered, barely managing to hold back the thick layer of tears that threatened to fall. He fixed his cold eyes on her and gave a sarcastic smile that almost sounded like sympathy. "I wanted to be honest after these 5 years. Would you rather I lie to you?" Amanda's mouth opened, but no words came out. She didn't want him to lie to her, no. But now she felt as if he had been lying to her over and over again throughout their entire marriage. He never mentioned that having a child was a priority. Now his words sounded as if being his wife was a privilege she should have earned. And she hadn't. "Marriage isn't a transaction," she said softly. He let out a laugh. "On the contrary, Amanda, marriage is a business. I hope you understand that and sign the papers." He rubbed his temples. "Let's be serious, Amanda. I was working my butt off at the university while you stayed at home." For 5 long years, Amanda had pushed her anger into the dark corners of her mind. Every time his family insulted her, every time they laughed at her clothes or questioned her makeup, every time they mocked her for being abandoned by her parents, she endured it because she thought he was worth it. But that anger hadn't dissipated. It was just stored away. And now that anger was turning into a rage, ready to explode. "You think I stayed at home and did nothing? Then who cooked your food, washed your clothes, ironed your shirts, and did your university assignments?" He clenched his jaw. "I agree you were useful at times, but the CEO of Medeiros Corporation needs a wife capable of more than a maid's services." "A maid? I can hire one anywhere. A maid." The bitterness curved her lips into a soft smile. "Is that what I am to you? A maid you don't have to pay." He slammed his fist on the table. "I can admit that these 5 years weren't all bad, that I might have even loved you at some point, but we both have to be reasonable and move on." "Be reasonable, move on," Amanda hissed as the surge of anger slowly burned through her veins. His hands clenched. "Sign the damn papers." Amanda's eyes turned to the wine bottle, and for a moment she imagined breaking it over his head. But hitting and cursing him wouldn't change anything. He didn't love her. He didn't want her. She was nothing but a joke to him. Forcing a deep breath into her lungs, Amanda pulled a pen from her purse and placed her signature where he wanted it. Amanda thought about shoving those documents down his throat, but knowing him, he had a backup copy. Gritting her teeth, Amanda handed him the signed document, feeling as if something was ripping a piece of her soul away. "Good girl," he said. Amanda had heard him call her that so many times, but only this time did she realize the hint of mockery. She couldn't believe how foolish she had been. Amanda was holding herself together to keep from disintegrating, but she wouldn't give him that satisfaction, so she started to get up from the table. "One more thing," he said, gesturing for Amanda to sit back down. "You need to leave this apartment. And you have to do it tonight." Amanda blinked. "What?" He pinched the bridge of his nose. "You're on your own now." "I paid the rent on this apartment for almost a year," she protested. He shrugged. "And now you won't have to pay it anymore. The apartment is in my name. It doesn't belong to you, just like 90% of the things inside it. Go pack your things now." Fury rose in Amanda's face, but he was right. There was nothing she could do. She had been blind and naive, and now she was about to pay the price for it. Clenching her jaw, Amanda rose from her chair, lifted her chin, straightened her back, and turned towards the door. In that moment, Amanda realized that their whole marriage, all those years, every tear swallowed in the bathroom, every humiliation from his family disguised as a joke. It was all part of a game where she always thought love would win, but love was never part of his rules. The silence of the room seemed to mock her. Every step Amanda took on the cold marble floor echoed like a lament, not just from the house, but from her very soul. The closet still smelled of lavender, the same scent she used to perfume his clothes. It was ironic. She still maintained the habit of keeping everything impeccable, even on the day she would be kicked out of her own life. Amanda opened her suitcase with trembling hands, her fingers sliding slowly over the old fabric, the same one she used on trips with him, back when she still thought they were building something together. She began to pack a few blouses, folding them carefully, as if by keeping order in the folds she could also maintain order within herself. But it was useless. Nothing there was in order. Nothing made sense. "He never asked," she murmured to herself, almost without realizing it. She stared at the wardrobe, the hangers still full, the shelves impeccable, all arranged by her. The house he said was his had been maintained by her invisible effort. The bills paid, the food cooked, the apartment clean, the pleasant smell, the peace, it was all her doing. But Michael never noticed, never asked. "How does he think I paid the rent?" she whispered, feeling her throat tighten. Yes, she didn't work formally. She didn't have a badge or a salary or a desk in some modern office. But that didn't mean she didn't produce, didn't contribute, didn't sustain. She sewed for clients, sold personalized items online silently every morning before dawn. She put every penny into a separate account, so as not to hurt the ego of a man who needed to believe he paid for everything himself. He never wanted to know. He never asked how the rent was paid when his transfers were late. She packed an old dress, the one she wore to the first dinner at his parents' house, where her mother-in-law looked her up and down and commented that some people try, but they just aren't born with class. That night, Amanda cried in the bathroom and Michael just shrugged and said she needed to learn how to deal with his mother. She swallowed the pain like so many other times. As she piled her belongings on the bed, another question tore through her mind like a knife. "And this test?" she murmured, her eyes fixed on an envelope she vaguely recognized. I never took this test. I don't remember this." She searched her memory, every doctor's visit, every appointment. She had never received that diagnosis, had never been informed of something so decisive. And even if she had undergone gynecological exams, none of them had alerted her to serious anatomical abnormalities. How did he have that paper before she did? How did he know? "Dr. Roberts," she murmured, her eyes now wide. Michael's friend, always so kind, so helpful, but also always distant. He smiled a lot and spoke little. He was the kind of person who seemed to keep secrets. Amanda trembled. If he had really shared a medical report without her consent, it was another betrayal. A betrayal that involved her own body, her right to information, to dignity. "They decided everything for me," she murmured. She shoved underwear into the suitcase without folding it. Now anger began to invade the space. It was no longer sadness. It was the certainty that she had been manipulated, kept in the dark, silenced. She knelt before the dresser and pulled out the bottom drawer. Photos, letters, small mementos of a marriage that was real to her. But now all of it was just proof that she had loved alone, fought alone, sustained an entire relationship alone. "Did he ever even see me?" she said, staring at a photograph of the two of them smiling on a beach. But the image no longer seemed authentic. Michael was smiling for the camera, but his gaze... Now Amanda saw it. There was no warmth there. There never had been. It was all convenience, appearances, a high-class theater with a wedding costume and a script of submission. She stood up with difficulty, her eyes burning, but she refused to cry anymore. She tossed the photo into the suitcase without a second thought. That pain was now fuel. With every piece of clothing packed, she stitched a new promise within herself. Never again would she be ignored. Never again would she be treated as invisible. Never again would she entrust her soul to someone who didn't know how to protect it. Amanda was being torn from her own home. But what Michael didn't know was that by ripping her from his life, he had unwittingly freed the most dangerous woman there is, one with nothing left to lose. Amanda paused for a moment in the center of the room. The open suitcase on the bed was already overflowing with memories disguised as clothes, with pieces of a life carefully folded or hastily thrown in, because none of it made sense anymore. She looked around one last time. Every detail of that apartment was somehow a part of her dedication. The paintings she had chosen herself, the curtains she had custom-made, the rug where on many nights she had knelt, cleaning up the wine he spilled while laughing at his friends' jokes during loud dinners. And now all of it was enemy territory. She closed the suitcase firmly. The click of the zipper sounded like a final period. She put on her coat, tied her hair into a simple bun and grabbed her purse. There was a lump in her throat that grew with every step, but she refused to cry. Not anymore. Michael didn't deserve a single extra tear. As she crossed the hallway, her gaze fell on such banal details that they seemed to scream. The frame that only held photos of him with his parents. His favorite cushion, which he swore Amanda didn't have good enough taste to choose. The gold-framed mirror that she had installed herself, even after hearing him say it was unnecessary to spend on frivolities. Everything was a mark of the life she had sustained with affection, and he had poisoned with contempt. When she reached the living room, she found Michael on the sofa, phone pressed to his ear, a slight smile on his lips. A smile that hurt more than any shout. It was the smile of someone who had already shed a burden, who was already moving on, perhaps with someone else. He didn't even look at her. Amanda stood for a moment behind the sofa, feeling the weight of the silent farewell. She wanted to say something, something that would stick. But any word she said now would only feed his ego. And Michael didn't even deserve the privilege of her last words. Without saying anything, she walked to the door, but as she held the doorknob, she heard his voice on the phone. "So yeah, she's leaving now, just like I said." alone, without making a scene, always so predictable. The sentence was like a blade cutting her from the inside out. Amanda turned slowly. He still had his back to her, laughing. He was holding the phone with the same hand that had once held hers at the altar. How could she have been so blind? She squeezed her eyes shut for a moment, took a deep breath, and then, with slow, firm steps, she walked to the elevator hall. The silence of the wait was suffocating. The display marked the floors with cruel slowness. 15, 14, 13. And when the doors opened, Amanda stepped inside. One last look over her shoulder. The apartment was still gleaming. Clean, rich, luxurious, but empty. Devoid of soul, of love, of truth. The doors closed. Inside the elevator alone, Amanda let out the breath she had been holding for hours. Her chest rose and fell with difficulty, but she remained standing. Alone but whole. Hurt, yes. Humiliated, perhaps. But for the first time in 5 years, free. As she left through the lobby, the security guard gave her a strange look. She just nodded. On the sidewalk, the cold night wind caressed her face like a reminder. Life was out there and she was still alive. Amanda walked down the 3 steps with her suitcase, feeling the weight in her arms. But that weight was nothing compared to what she was leaving behind. And when she lifted her face to the illuminated city before her, she felt something new. It wasn't fear, it was fire. And in that moment she knew, nothing, absolutely nothing, would ever be the same. Michael thought he had won, that the weakest piece had been removed from the board. Little did he know, Amanda was just stepping back to deliver checkmate. Amanda walked down the street with heavy steps, the suitcase dragging behind her like an annoying reminder of what she was leaving behind. She had nowhere to go that night, no plan, no certainty, only the conviction that she would never again be the person she was in that apartment. The cold wind hit her face, but she didn't flinch. For the first time in a long time, she allowed the cold to touch her because it was real. And unlike the man she had loved for 5 years, the cold didn't pretend to be warm. She went to the house of an old friend, Claire, who lived in a simple neighborhood, far from the skyscrapers of the elite. The woman welcomed her with open arms, no questions asked, just silence and blankets, hot tea, and a room with a mattress on the floor. Amanda cried there, not for Michael, but for everything she had stopped being while trying to love him, to make him happy. The first few days were like a period of mourning. She slept little, ate less. She spent hours staring at her phone screen, waiting for a message that never came. But at some point in the early morning of the 4th day, Amanda got out of bed as if waking from a nightmare. She went to the bathroom mirror, turned on the light, and looked at herself. "It's over," she whispered to herself. But this isn't the end. It's the beginning. Amanda took out her old laptop, the one she used to study sewing and interior design in her spare time. She created a new email, a new name, a new business registration, and that same day, she registered the micro company Aurora Atelier, specializing in affordable interior design and custom handmade pieces. She used the change she had saved, which Michael said she spent on nonsense, to buy fabrics, threads, buttons, and a few yards of lace. She photographed everything with her old phone and posted it on a discreet social media page. She didn't use her full name, didn't tell her story. She let her work speak for itself. The first orders were small. One client asked for custom cushion covers. Another wanted to transform a bedroom into a therapeutic space. Amanda put love into every stitch, care into every corner, and most impressively, she did everything with her own 2 hands. In less than 3 months, one of her pieces went viral. An influencer discovered the atelier and shared an image of a handmade curtain with lace applique and handcrafted embroidered phrases. Amanda's page exploded. Orders doubled, then tripled. But success didn't just come from orders. An anonymous investor, impressed with the style and delicacy of her work, contacted her, offering a partnership. Amanda refused. She had already given her own name, her own body, her own time to a man once. She would never do that again. Using her initial profits and the quiet knowledge she had acquired over the years, she did something no one expected. She opened a branch of Aurora Atelier inside a modern design mall. The space became a meeting point for female entrepreneurs, artisans, and invisible creators, as she had once been. She began to teach courses, train other women, and employ single mothers and women from communities who wanted a new start. And that's when a new name entered her life, the Vita Group. It was a secret investment fund belonging to a mysterious figure who silently bought stakes in women-led businesses. Amanda was invited to a meeting. Upon arriving at the location, a mirrored building in the city's financial center, she knew immediately where she was. The headquarters of Medeiros Corporation, the place where Michael was now CEO. But on that day, he didn't know that the woman at the head of the negotiation table was Amanda. She was using a different name, a new look, a new power. The man who had once discarded her with a signature would now beg for a deal. Amanda listened to the proposal with serenity, didn't respond immediately, just looked at the window where her own reflection, stronger, more alive, more complete, smiled back at her. She hadn't gotten her revenge yet, but she no longer needed it. She had already won. That night, a very important event was being held in the ballroom of the Imperial Hotel. It was a parade of luxury and vanity. Crystal chandeliers sparkled over expensive outfits and plastic smiles. It was the Medeiros Foundation Gala, a charity event for investors, entrepreneurs, and influential names in the corporate sector. Michael paraded among the guests like a prince in his kingdom. He wore a tailored black suit, an Italian silk tie, and the arrogant air of someone who thought he controlled every move on the board, until his eyes landed on a scene that froze his smile. On the other side of the ballroom, surrounded by curious glances and discreet murmurs, stood a beautiful, poised woman. She wore an elegant, straight-cut navy blue dress with slightly exposed shoulders and a delicate necklace that seemed to belong to a golden age. Her hair was up in a high bun, her makeup subtle, her walk confident. It was Amanda. But not the Amanda he had kicked out of the apartment months ago. This was another woman, prouder, more refined, more inaccessible. Beside her, an older, gray-haired man in a dark, impeccable suit, with the posture of someone used to being in charge, was talking to her closely, sometimes leaning in to whisper something in her ear, making her smile discreetly, almost conspiratorially. Michael narrowed his eyes. "What the?" he muttered, as if the scene were a direct affront. He took 2 steps forward, trying to get closer without being obvious. He watched the man hand a glass of champagne to Amanda, who accepted it with elegance. She seemed comfortable, as if that place and that atmosphere had been hers for a long time. Around them, some businessmen were whispering, "That's the founder of Aurora Atelier, you know? Partnered with the Vita Group recently. Her company's value has tripled in the last 3 months. They say she's a protege of Claudio Rivas." The name made Michael frown. Claudio Rivas, one of the most feared investors in the country, a shark in the world of finance. And now he was fawning over his ex-wife. Michael gripped his glass until his knuckles turned white. "Of course," he said in a low voice, almost to himself. "Now it all makes sense. I bet she's being bankrolled by him. That's how she's surviving." His mind began to weave the narrative his ego needed to avoid crumbling. Amanda hadn't risen on merit. She hadn't won through capability. It was obvious. She had found a rich old man to support her. That was all it was. It was always like that with women like her, he thought. They pretend to be strong, but they always end up on their knees for someone with more power. But no matter how much he tried to repeat this in his head, there was something he couldn't ignore. The way she carried herself. Amanda wasn't clinging to Claudio's arm. She wasn't submissive or fawning. She spoke firmly, making eye contact, and he, the all-powerful Claudio Rivas, listened with respect, with attention, with admiration. And that Michael could not bear. He needed an excuse. He needed to believe she was still the same insecure woman he had despised. He needed to believe his rejection was justified, because if it wasn't, then he had made the biggest mistake of his life. Michael turned his face away and moved away from the crowd, trying to ignore the chill running up his spine. But deep down he knew. Amanda wasn't being supported. Amanda was being recognized. And for the first time, Michael wasn't the center of the ballroom. He was just one more person in the crowd. The orchestra was playing a classical melody in the background. Waiters circulated with trays of sparkling wine, and the party hall buzzed with fake smiles and forced laughter. Michael was present but not whole. He wore an impeccable dark suit. The gold watch gleamed on his wrist, and at his side, holding his arm with possessive firmness, was Olivia, his current girlfriend, or rather his future wife, according to the plans he had drawn up after the divorce with Amanda. And of course, she was now pregnant. The heir he so desired was finally on the way. This was what he wanted, wasn't it? So why did everything that night feel so wrong? Olivia smiled at a group of socialites and passed a hand over her belly, proud. The camera flashes captured the moment, and she squeezed Michael's arm as if to ensure he was seen there by her side. But he barely heard her. His mind was elsewhere. His eyes wandered across the hall, searching for something or someone that he still couldn't admit he missed. "Michael, are you listening to me?" Olivia's voice cut through his reverie. "Of course," he replied automatically, forcing a vague smile. "You were talking about the name. Isabella, remember? We already decided. Isabella Medeiros. Doesn't it sound perfect?" she said excitedly. "Perfect," he repeated without conviction, but inside the name sounded empty. He looked around and saw a waiter discreetly stumble with a tray. Immediately his mind drifted. Amanda would have stood up before the waiter fell. She would have cleaned the floor with the napkin from her own lap. She would have smiled so as not to embarrass the young man. She would have taken care of everything discreetly, with kindness. Amanda did those things. He took a deep breath, trying to shake off the memory, but it came back with force. She used to wake up before him every day. She would prepare his coffee just right. No sugar, just a touch of cinnamon, exactly how he liked it. She would straighten his tie before meetings, put notes in his briefcase when he was nervous, remembered his secretary's birthday when he forgot. Amanda filled the voids he didn't even know he had. Now by his side, Olivia just waited for the flashes to capture the best angle of her tight dress and early-stage baby bump. She wasn't interested in the details. She never offered to iron a shirt. She never saw him as a tired man, only as a trophy to be displayed. Michael brought the glass to his lips, but the champagne tasted bitter, almost as bitter as his guilt. Amanda knew when he came home tense, just by the way he dropped his keys on the table. She heard him even when he said nothing. She knew when to leave him alone and when to pull him close. She knew when he needed silence and when he needed comfort. She was there. She had always been there. And he had discarded her like an object that was no longer useful. And now he was here, next to a woman who barely knew where he kept his socks, waiting for a daughter who would carry his name, but wouldn't have the silent sweetness at home that Amanda offered without asking for anything in return. Amanda would have been an incredible mother, he thought, his chest tightening. Michael ran a hand over his face, trying to push away the regret, but it was ingrained. There was no escaping it, because he knew with absolute certainty he had chosen the wrong woman for the wrong reasons and lost the only person who had ever truly loved him for free. The music changed, the festive atmosphere continued, but Michael was motionless. His eyes were fixed on the reflection of the chandelier above, which now illuminated no victory, only the face of a man who had everything and didn't know how to see it. And the only thing he could think was, Amanda never needed me. It was I who needed her, and I never knew it. Amanda continued on her path, her business growing ever stronger, and she became increasingly well known and admired. A few months passed. Amanda went to an event where she was to be honored with an international nomination. In the meantime, the echoes of her rise began to reach places where once there was only contempt. And it was precisely on one of those nights, at a gala dinner hosted by one of Medeiros Corporation's sponsors, that Michael's family began to feel the weight of their own poison. Beatrice, Michael's mother, paraded among the tables in her ruby-red dress, smiling at the guests as if she was still the queen of the empire that Amanda had once helped to maintain. Jessica, his sister, sat at the end of the table, distractedly scrolling on her phone, bored with the speeches. Olivia, Michael's pregnant current wife, flaunted her belly and her ring like trophies, surrounded by friends who praised her new standard of living. But everything changed when a group of journalists crossed the room and positioned themselves in front of the large screen at the back. Ladies and gentlemen, we now present the list of finalists for the Women Who Transform 2025 award. And this year, among the top vote-getters is her Amanda Vasconcelos. The image appeared clearly on the screen. Amanda, in a light blazer and a gentle smile, walking among bookshelves and business panels. The hall, until then noisy, fell silent, and then came the whispers. "Did you see? It's Michael's ex. Her social project is being copied abroad. And to think her mother-in-law said she wasn't even good enough to set a coffee table." Beatrice blushed, tried to laugh, tried to make it seem like she didn't care, but her eyes, couldn't leave the screen. Jessica froze, her nails digging into the arm of her chair. Olivia, for her part, feigned indifference, but her trembling hands on her glass betrayed her discomfort. It was then that one of the guests at the next table, an influential banker known for his sharp tongue, commented loudly enough for them to hear. "I remember when they said this girl was a nobody, penniless and without prospects. Now she's shaping the market and sitting at the table with government ministers. Truly he who laughs last laughs best." The words fell like bombs. Beatrice, not knowing how to react, clutched the napkin in her hands. Inside, she was swallowed by shame. One day, she had pointed to Amanda's simple dress and said it looked like something from a discount store. Now renowned designers were copying Amanda's style in entire collections. Michael, silent beside his wife, watched everything. And for the first time, he saw his family taste the bitter flavor of their contempt being returned. Not with shouts, not with scandals, but with glory. Amanda hadn't fought back. Amanda didn't need to stoop to their level. She had simply climbed so high that now they could barely reach her with their eyes. And so Amanda's life continued, with awards and important speeches. At most of them, Michael was always watching. Another event was beginning when the Master of Ceremonies announced, with a firm and enthusiastic voice, "Ladies and gentlemen, your attention to the stage, please. We will now have the presentation of the newest partner of the New Paths Foundation, responsible for an innovative project for the training and reintegration of women into the workforce. With you, Amanda Vasconcelos." The audience applauded, some with enthusiasm, others merely out of protocol. But Michael froze. His entire body tensed. It can't be. The name echoed like thunder in the middle of the hall, Amanda Vasconcelos, and the sound of the applause was muffled by the growing buzz that filled Michael's ears. Beside him, Olivia was fiddling with her phone, distracted as always. She didn't even notice his gaze slowly rise, filled with a mixture of disbelief and vertigo. And then she appeared. Amanda walked across the stage with firm, light steps, exuding a silent confidence that didn't ask for permission. It commanded a presence. The elegant black dress hugged her curves with discretion and sophistication. Her hair, tied in a low bun, revealed a pair of delicate earrings and a face that no longer carried hurt, only strength. Her eyes swept over the hall without fear, without haste. And then, for a second, they met. Amanda saw Michael and smiled, but not a smile of longing or pain. It was a serene, mature smile, the kind that says, "I survived you." Michael felt his throat go dry. His hand gripped the glass so tightly that the crystal creaked between his fingers. His heart pounded irregularly, as if his whole body was trying to warn him that this moment would change everything. Amanda began to speak. "Good evening, everyone. It's an honor to be here. A while ago, I too was lost, invisible, like so many women who love, who care, who build, and who are left behind as if they were disposable. But we are not disposable. We are powerhouses, and what we are doing with this project is proving with results and dignity that starting over is not a shame. It is power." The hall was in absolute silence. Every word of hers entered Michael like a dagger. She wasn't there as a pitiful survivor. She was there as a leader, as an entrepreneur, as a symbol. Amanda was now what he had always denied she could be, someone beyond his wife. Olivia noticed his discomfort and nudged his arm. Michael didn't respond. He continued to stare, transfixed, as Amanda acknowledged the applause and descended from the stage, surrounded by business people and journalists who approached her with enthusiasm. And then he saw it. The same man from the other party, the older one in the impeccable suit and commanding presence, extended his hand to Amanda. She took it without hesitation. The two smiled at each other naturally. There was no dependency. There was partnership, equality. Michael felt his stomach turn. "She's with him," he murmured. But the truth was much crueler. Amanda was with herself, and that hurt more than anything. He turned his face away as if escaping the scene would erase what he had just seen. But it was too late. The man who had everything now had only regret. And the woman he thought depended on him was now receiving a standing ovation. The event had ended almost half an hour ago. The guests were slowly dispersing through the lobby, amid formal thank yous, selfies, and final toasts. Amanda was talking to a young entrepreneur when she suddenly felt that subtle shiver, the same one that had run through her so many times in the past, whenever something was about to happen. And then, even before turning, she knew Michael was there. Amanda, he said, his voice restrained, as if the name itself was heavy in his mouth. She turned slowly. Her eyes rested on him calmly. There was no anger, no longing, just maturity. "Michael," she replied, her tone clipped but polite. "Good evening." He hesitated for a second, trying to find some emotional crack in her gaze, but there was none. The mirror of the woman he had once controlled was now opaque to any manipulation, and that left him disconcerted. "Can we talk for just a minute?" "In private?" he asked with a weak, almost embarrassed smile. Amanda looked around. Her assistant was already waiting by the door. The car would be there in a few minutes. "Be quick," she said, crossing her arms, keeping her distance. Michael took a deep breath, looked around and approached cautiously as if walking on broken glass. "You look different," he began. "I mean, you seem well. Successful, I guess." "You don't have to feign surprise, Michael," she interrupted elegantly. "I know you've been following my every move since the day you saw me at the Medeiros party. Your eyes that night screamed more than your mouth ever could." He swallowed hard. "It was true. I just wanted to understand," he said, his voice choked with emotion. "How did you get here so fast? How did you rebuild everything like this?" Amanda kept her gaze fixed on his. "When you threw me out of our home thinking I was nothing, thinking I depended on you, you set me free. It was the worst day of my life, but it was also my rebirth." He took a step forward. "And that man?" he blurted out. The question that had been stuck in his throat since he saw her on stage. "The businessman." "Are you two together?" Amanda tilted her head, taking her time to answer. Then she smiled. "Michael, it's not about him. It was never about him. It was about me, about what I became without you. You're so desperate to know if someone is supporting me, when the truth is, you were the one who always needed me and never realized it." The words hit like a knife. Michael looked down, but she wasn't finished. "You said I had no name, no value, no talent, that I couldn't give you anything. But you see, what I gave you was more than any heir could ever offer." She moved closer, enough for only him to hear. "I gave you love, loyalty, a home, and you threw it all away for a fertile womb." He closed his eyes, feeling the words like acid. He tried to maintain control. "I was wrong, Amanda," he murmured sincerely. "You were everything, and I was too blind to see it. It's too late now, isn't it?" Amanda took a deep breath. For the first time, her eyes softened, but not for him. For herself, for her own strength. "It's not too late for you to change, Michael, but it is too late for us." And then she added, "Because I found myself right when you lost me." At that moment, her phone vibrated. It was her driver, letting her know the car was waiting at the entrance. Amanda took a step back. "Good night, Michael." She turned and walked to the exit with the same firmness of someone who had learned never again to crawl for crumbs of affection. Michael stood there, alone in the hallway of an event that was supposed to celebrate him, but had become the stage for his greatest failure. He watched her walk through the glass doors, get into the black car, be greeted respectfully by a driver, and disappear into the night like a woman who owed nothing to anyone anymore. And then, for the first time, Michael understood what regret was. Not the kind that passes, but the kind that lasts a lifetime. Months had passed since the night Amanda walked alone to the event door, leaving behind not just Michael, but the entire past that had tried to erase her. The media now not only knew her, they revered her. Reports highlighted her journey as an inspiring turnaround worthy of a movie, and her name appeared on lists of the most influential female entrepreneurs of the decade. But what no one expected, not even her, was that love, true love, was still reserved in her destiny. It all started discreetly, an invitation to a social innovation conference in Lisbon. Amanda was one of the keynote speakers, and at the end of her presentation, an elegant man with an attentive gaze and a discreet navy blue tie approached to congratulate her. "The way you transformed pain into impact is brilliant. Congratulations." It was Lorenzo Sterling, a tech millionaire, founder of one of Europe's most promising startups, and heir to an international investment conglomerate. But Amanda didn't recognize him immediately. She didn't follow the world of the rich. She lived in the world of the real. And perhaps that was what enchanted him most. The conversation between them that night lasted for more than 3 hours. Then came the invitations: coffee in Lisbon, a dinner in Barcelona, a weekend debating social causes at a conference in Oslo. And without realizing it, Amanda found herself involved not by figures, but by someone who looked at her as if she were the only person in the room. Lorenzo was different from anyone she had ever known. He didn't compete with her light. He admired it. He didn't try to mold her. He adapted, and more than anything, he listened. The relationship grew under the watchful eyes of the media, but they remained discreet. Amanda refused interviews about her love life, until one day, the world woke up to photos that graced every cover. Amanda Vasconcelos and Lorenzo Sterling were married. The ceremony was held at a private vineyard in Tuscany, with only 50 guests. Amanda wore a minimalist dress with a clean cut and an open back. Created by a young Brazilian designer she had personally funded to study fashion abroad. The wedding bands were carved from white gold and discreetly engraved with the words inequality. It was the first time Amanda said yes, without fear, without doubt, without imbalance. At that altar at sunset, among the silent vineyards and discreet applause, Amanda looked at Lorenzo and knew. Now she loved again, but this time as a whole woman. And Michael, he saw everything. The photos, the videos, the real smiles. He saw Amanda arm in arm with a man who revered her, who celebrated her. He saw what he had lost, not in silence, but under the eyes of the world. And then he understood once and for all that Amanda had not just won. She had rewritten her story with a happy ending, and with another last name. The big day of the awards ceremony arrived. The hall of the International Summit for Social Innovation in Geneva was completely packed. Heads of state, CEOs of multinational corporations, philanthropists from all over the world, and journalists from the biggest media networks occupied the seats, aligned with surgical precision. The air was one of reverence, of expectation, of history about to be made. Amanda crossed the blue carpet with calm steps. She wore a flowing white silk dress that lightly sketched the curve of her growing belly. Her hair was in an elegant bun, her makeup soft, and a glow in her eyes that no artificial light could replicate. At her side, Lorenzo, discreet, elegant, his gaze fixed on her as if she were his greatest prize. He didn't lead her like a prize. He accompanied her with pride, with love. "Ladies and gentlemen," announced the master of ceremonies with an enthusiastic French accent, "it is with honor that we present the Global Award for Social Transformation to the entrepreneur and founder of the Aurora Institute, Amanda Vasconcelos Sterling." The hall erupted in applause. And at that moment, on the other side of the ocean, in front of the television in the living room of a cold and silent mansion, Beatrice, Jessica, and Michael watched live, sitting side by side. Not a word was spoken, only the sound of applause, the simultaneous translation, and their tightening chests. Beatrice, once so haughty, pressed a handkerchief to her lips. She remembered the young woman she used to mock for her clothes, too modest for not having a last name, for not knowing how to carry herself. Now there she was, standing, speaking with world leaders in 3 languages, and pregnant with a child who would grow up in a home where love would not be conditional. Amanda held the trophy in her hands, but before speaking, she rested her fingers on her belly. Then she looked at the audience as one looks at the past, without resentment but with authority. "For a long time I was told that I was not enough, that I had no name, no value, no purpose, but I discovered at rock bottom that a woman's strength doesn't come from where she is born. It comes from where she decides to be reborn. To this child growing inside me, and to the thousands of girls who still believe they must be silent to be loved, I say, never again bow down to fit into spaces that were made to keep you small." More applause. A standing ovation, long and emotional. On the television screen, Amanda smiled and was embraced by dignitaries, by artists, by women who cried seeing her. And in the Medeiros mansion, the silence was cruel. Beatrice whispered with a choked voice, "I need to talk to her." "She doesn't need to hear anything from us anymore," Michael replied, his eyes welling up. Jessica, sitting in silence, just nodded in agreement. For the first time, she understood that Amanda was no longer the ex. She was an icon, and you don't apologize to an icon when forgiveness has already been surpassed by distance. Amanda hadn't forgotten. She had overcome. And that, for those who had humiliated her, hurt more than any revenge. Amanda returned to resolve some bureaucratic matters and make appearances at a few events. It was an autumn afternoon, the kind where the leaves dance in the air as if carrying ancient secrets, Amanda walked slowly down the promenade of an elegant park, protected by a delicate beige scarf, her hair in a loose bun and her eyes hidden behind dark glasses. Every step she took was a silent declaration of victory. Lorenzo, her husband, was a few meters ahead, talking with the architect for the new foundation space she had envisioned. Amanda had come only to see the area where a new shelter for single mothers would be built, the most personal project of her life. Her life was now made of purpose. And it was there in that scene of peace and reconstruction that fate decided to cross their paths. Michael appeared from the other side of the street, rushing out of a cafe where he had just finished a business meeting. He looked more worn, visibly aged, despite the youth still present in his features. He wore a suit as always, but without its former gleam. And it was when he looked up that he saw her. He stopped immediately. The world around him slowed down. Amanda. Michael's breath caught. His body froze. For a moment he thought he was dreaming, but he wasn't. There she was, walking slowly, her hand gently caressing her belly, her face calm, illuminated, the serenity in her eyes of someone who had finally found a home within herself. On impulse, he crossed the street. Amanda, she turned slowly. The name no longer hurt. It no longer caused a tremor or anger or pain, just nothing. It was just a name of someone left behind. Michael, she replied with a slight nod without stopping her walk. He approached, not knowing what to do with his hands, not knowing whether to smile, to apologize, or to simply fall to his knees. I had no idea, I know. And I also had no idea what it would be like to be truly loved until I met Lorenzo. The mention of his name made Michael avert his eyes. Are you happy? He asked, though he already knew the answer. Amanda nodded. Very. Amanda placed a hand on her belly. It seems there was something wrong with that test I don't even remember taking. She smiled. Not a smile of provocation, but of tenderness, of fulfillment. Michael swallowed hard. There was nothing more to say. The silence between them said everything. I just wanted, he tried, his voice failing, to tell you that I still think about you every day. And I regret it. Amanda took a deep breath. Her eyes locked on his for a moment. She no longer saw the man she had once loved. She only saw the man who had taught her in the most painful way how strong she was. Regret is a lonely place, Michael. And that's where you'll have to learn to live now, she said sweetly, without rancor. He remained silent. And then she added, but I thank you, because if you hadn't left me, I never would have gotten here. Behind her, Lorenzo approached, smiling. When he reached her, he interlaced his fingers with hers naturally. He placed his other hand on her belly and kissed her temple, as one who protects an entire universe. Is everything okay here? He asked, looking from Michael to Amanda. Everything's perfect, Amanda replied firmly, just closing an old chapter. She took a step forward and then paused for a second. Goodbye, Michael, and with that she turned. She walked beside Lorenzo to the parked car, his hand on her waist. The world before them opened like a promise. Michael stood there, swallowing his loneliness, tasting the bitter flavor of what he had lost. He watched until the car disappeared in the distance. And standing there, he realized that that baby, that woman, that future, would never be his. Because the love Amanda now carried was too whole to ever turn back. Life went on, the parties and events always graced by her presence. The room at the charity cocktail party was filled with soft voices, French champagne and rehearsed smiles. The event was private, exclusive to major investors and guests of honor for the new social impact program led by Amanda Vasconcelos Sterling. It was her first public appearance after the International Award in Geneva, and the first since she had given birth. Lorenzo accompanied her as always, discreet and attentive. His hand rested gently on her back, as if to say without words, I am here, and I always will be. Amanda wore a light, tailored suit, elegant and modern, her hair in a low bun, and a glow in her eyes of a woman who had just achieved peace. But there were eyes fixed on her, eyes that were not there to celebrate but to try to correct the past. Beatrice, standing near the entrance to the hall, Michael's mother, clutched a gold clutch so tightly her knuckles were white. Her subtle makeup and well-chosen dress couldn't hide her nervousness. For days she had rehearsed what she would say if she got the chance, and now she had it. She saw Amanda smiling at investors, signing a book with a dedication, receiving compliments, greeting senators and artists. And then she decided, She walked with short but determined steps, crossing the room between glances that recognized her, not as the haughty matriarch of before, but as the woman who had once been the first to turn her back on Amanda. She stopped in front of her. Amanda looked at her neutrally. A second of silence, time frozen. "Amanda," Beatrice began, her voice low, almost pleading. "I don't have the right, but I had to come. I needed to tell you that I regret everything. How I treated you, the words I used. I was blind. I was cruel. And today I see how much you are worth." Amanda remained motionless. The hall continued its normal buzz, but in that small bubble of tension, only their two sets of eyes existed. Beatrice took a step forward. "You changed the world, Amanda. But before that you changed me. And I am so sorry." Amanda took a deep breath. A slight smile appeared on her lips, but it was not one of affection. It was one of firmness. It was of someone who had already forgiven herself and no longer needed to hear anything from those who had hurt her. She then spoke, her voice calm and precise, audible only to the one who needed to hear. "Beatrice, what you say today doesn't change what I was forced to endure in silence. But don't worry. I don't carry resentment, because everything you all took from me, life has given me back twofold." Beatrice looked down, swallowing her embarrassment. "If you need anything. From me, from us." Amanda took a delicate step to the side, signaling with her eyes that the conversation was over. Elegant, unshakable, without losing her composure, without hurting, but also without opening the doors that had once been brutally slammed shut on her. "What I needed, Beatrice, I have already achieved. The rest I left in the past." Lorenzo approached, placing a hand on his wife's shoulder. "All good?" he asked tenderly. Amanda looked at him with affection and then replied, "All good," as if to say, "It's over." Beatrice stood there among laughter that no longer belonged to her and smiles she would never earn. The apology she once believed to be noble now sounded useless. Amanda didn't need to hear it anymore, because sometimes silence is the most elegant answer one can offer. The sun rose slowly, painting the sky in shades of gold and copper. The gentle morning breeze swept across the open balcony of a minimalist-style house, suspended over a field of olive trees in the countryside. Amanda sat there in a light wood rocking chair. Air-steaming coffee rested beside her, but her thoughts were far away, wandering through memories that now seemed to belong to another woman. A woman she had been but was no longer. There, surrounded by the tranquil sound of birds and the soft scent of damp earth, Amanda smiled to herself. There was life inside the house, a baby growing calmly at his own pace. And the most beautiful thing of all was that this life was generated inside her, and only she knew the suffering of imagining she would never be able to be a mother. Married to Lorenzo Sterling, a man who not only believed in her but celebrated her, Amanda had rediscovered love without needing to diminish herself. With him there was no fear, no hidden contract, no demands hidden under golden rings. Lorenzo loved her as she was, strong, resilient, free. Their wedding had not been a spectacle to impress social columns. It was intimate, sincere, true. A simple wooden altar among ancient trees, vows whispered at dusk, and a single certainty. They chose each other for love and for freedom. In that moment, Amanda was leafing through a small box of old letters. They were notes she had written to herself during her reconstruction process, words of strength, of courage, of new beginnings. One of them read, "One day you will be your own answer." She smiled. Now she knew. That was it. She had become her own answer. Meanwhile, on the other side of the ocean, Michael stared at the screen of a tablet on his office desk. A notification popped up with the cover image of an international business magazine. Amanda Sterling, the woman who revolutionized female entrepreneurship with purpose. In the photo, Amanda posed beside Lorenzo with their son in her arms. He remained silent for long minutes, watching his own daughter play. But his marriage to Olivia was a barren field, sustained by appearances. Now every smile from Amanda on a cover, every new achievement displayed in newspapers and social media, was a cruel reminder of what he had and despised. Amanda, the one he said had no value, was now globally acclaimed. The one he called useless was now a benchmark. The one he kicked out was now the owner of her own world. And Michael understood too late that some women are not born great. They are first broken into 1,000 pieces, only to then rebuild themselves bigger than anyone could have ever imagined. Sometimes what seems like the end is just the starting point for your greatest comeback. It doesn't matter who humiliated you, rejected you, or made you doubt yourself. What really matters is what you do with the pain. Amanda turned her fall into momentum, and you can too. Never forget, the value you have doesn't depend on who left you, but on who you choose to be after they're gone. So, what did you think of Amanda's story? Leave your opinion in the comments below, and stay tuned for more moving stories like this one. Take care, and see you next time.